much bad stuff happening last year, and like people were like, well, you know, none of this happened before you started going to church. Maybe you should stop going and things might work out for you, and like dumb stuff like
Oh,
that.
wow.
So,
Yeah,
That's incredible.
yeah.
yeah. There's
Inc-
always those that are not encouraging, and we all experience
The
those
thing
people in
was,
our
it was
life.
my friends.
Yeah,
The
Oh,
people I thought were my friends, so it just hurt
right.
so bad. It was like a knife in my heart. So, after that, I just, like, I didn't really have my friends to talk to, so I just started talking to God about everything. And I'm like, all right, God, like, what's your purpose for me? What are we going to do? Like, what do you want me to do? And I was just growing more in my relationship with God. And I remember, like, having this dream that I started a T-shirt business called Thera G's, T-shirts that make you feel good. Sounds like therapy, you know?
Yes. Yes, that's awesome.
And I felt like that was God telling me what I was going to be doing. And really it wasn't, or maybe it was, it just wasn't time for that yet. So I'd started a T-shirt business, and I'm like, I'm going to save the world with T-shirts. And it ultimately didn't work out. And I started listening to Transformation Church. If you guys have not listened to that church, you should. Guy is crazy, insane. And he was talking about, like, having just this crazy faith. And I would go down to the river to pray down on my lunch breaks. And I was listening to this podcast, and I felt like God spoke to me and told me to quit my job and to start this ministry. And I was like, what? And I was like, there is no way. Like, this is me saying that because he knows I don't want to be at this job anymore. These people are just ridiculing me for my faith and everything. Like, I'm not going to quit my job. And in the sermon, it said to have the faith and follow the cloud. And I'm like, okay. And I don't know if you know this story in the Bible where they just followed the cloud. Wherever God would want them to go, they would follow it. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to quit my job, God. You're crazy. And I wrote it down on a piece of paper. I will send you guys a picture of this paper. Is crazy. He said, quit your job and save all the money you can between now and March. Well, he knew I wasn't going to quit my job, and it was going to take something drastic for me to
because that was essentially your first foundation, right?
Yeah, and it was the longest job I've ever had in my life.
And so when you're down and you're listening to God speak to you, and He's saying quit your job. I mean, I felt that God had been talking to me, and then I'm questioning it. No, come on, you don't want me to do that. You don't. And there's a part of you where you want to have faith and you want to follow. But then you're thinking, how am I going to quit my job? Yeah. And I think that's where people miss the opportunity of God guiding them to their gift, because we are so scared to make that jump that
I was scared to death.
Even in my life, there have been so many opportunities that I felt like I needed to do something, and even though I have faith and I believe it's hard to think about, well, I got a house payment and I got a truck payment and I got to feed my family and all these things.
Well, see, faith requires action, and that's where we tend to fall through.
Right. That's right.
Yep.
So then after that, I started experiencing all these health issues. Like headache, I had a headache for 37 days straight, and I was having tremors. I was incontinence issues, all kinds of stuff. It was insane. I was in the ER 9 times a month because they couldn't figure out what was going on, and they told me I might have MS and all this stuff. So I'm like scared to death. Like, now I really can't quit my job.
Right.
And then it was like during this time I had started the Rooted and Rising and shared my story, and it had reached like all the way to Africa. And I met this girl, and she just was talking about how much hope it gave her to know that I made it through all that. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I need to start an orphanage in Africa. And like, I'm trying to do all these crazy things instead of consulting with God and asking him. And that's why he had to like sit me back in my place. Like,
right.
You need to calm down, girl. And I like had got sick to where I was just laying in bed all the time. So all I had to do was talk to God.
Right.
And my aunt had been selling on Poshmark for like, I don't know how long, but she was like, oh my God, you have to get on Poshmark. And I thought she was crazy. I was like, I'm not going to go sell stuff on Poshmark. What are you talking about? And it was like a few months down the road after I'd just like, all right, God, I'm done with this. Because I had taken pictures, like, of my symptoms, like I was losing circulation in my feet. I had a notebook I was writing my symptoms down in. Like, I did all this research. I had spreadsheets and everything.
Just trying to figure out.
Going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And it was finally, I took that 23andMe test to get like the health stuff from, and then I got my mom's medical records, and when I finished doing that, I was just like, whatever, God, it's all on you now. Like, I'm tired of spending time on this.
Right.
And then it was like, I went to this First Wednesday service and got prayed over, and after that, I didn't have any health issues, and then it was like, I don't really know what happened after that, but I know that I started Poshmark not too long after it, and it was crazy. After that, my aunt got me to sign up, and I sold a pair of shorts for $14 on there, and I was like, what? Like, I got more than what they charge at Plato's Closet for these. It just was like a light bulb moment, I guess.
So talk about, so now you're in a great relationship, things are going well, and I'm sure there's ups and downs, but right now things are going great for you, and then you decide, I'm going to start Poshmark. Walk us through that. Tell us what that's about. And this is currently what you're doing today, correct?
Yes.
And you might want to tell us what Poshmark is, because some listeners may not know what that is. And
okay. All right, so Poshmark's like a resale app for your used clothes. You literally just take a picture of your clothing and put it on there, kind of like Facebook Marketplace, but it's more for quote-unquote designer clothing.
Okay.
But literally you can post anything from like No Boundaries Walmart brands to like designer brands like Coach and stuff like that. Well, I was listening to a podcast from Transformation Church, and I was just like, he was talking about how your gift from God is something you don't really see. And it's kind of like a piece of clothing that you put into your, like, you buy it because it's under the light and it looks so pretty, but then when you bring it home, you put it in your closet and you never wear it again. And you don't look at it the way that you looked at it before. And sometimes you have to take it out and put it back under the light like they did at the store in order to see the beauty in it. And that's, God uses the one thing that you don't think is important for your purpose. And then I just felt like God was like, all right, you need to sell all your clothes. I was like, what? I like clothes.
You're taking away my job and my clothes?
Yeah. So I go into my closet, and, like, I have way too many clothes because I have a thrift store problem. And I'm, like, going through, I'm like, all right, I haven't worn that in 3 months. I haven't worn that in a month. Like, and I'm just pulling everything out of my closet. And I just started listing it on Poshmark. I sold that pair of shorts, and I'm like just freaking out about it. Like when I go to do the package, Poshmark has this etiquette. Like you have to make sure it's wrapped nicely in tissue paper and like throw in a little thank you note and all this stuff. So I wrapped it with tissue paper, and I got like a little gift and put it in there. And I felt like God told me to just use it to encourage the buyer.
Mm-hmm.
So I told her, I was like, hey, I hope you love your purchase, and remember to always smile because you're beautiful, loved by God, and Jesus thinks you're to die for.
I love that.
And that was my tagline for so long.
But there's people out there that need to hear that.
Yes, they do. And she needed to hear it. She gave me feedback after she got it, because on Poshmark, when you leave a review, it's called a love note. So she said, I don't know how you knew, but like my kid is really sick right now, and thank you for picking me up when you didn't even know I was down.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, God, this is what I'm going to do, huh? So I started going to the Christian bookstore and buying those little pamphlets.
Right.
And I got them on Hope. And then I would write out all my cards and use that little tagline. And then I would buy a 30-pack of earrings from Walmart and cut them all out and put a pair of earrings in there, write a little thank you note, and then put a message of hope in there. And it just was insane after that. Like, it just took off. And, like, I've had people text me, because I always put in my packages my phone number. I'm like, if you're in need of prayer or someone to talk to, please reach out to me. And, like, just hearing some of the people's stories and just the impact that I'm able to make on their lives just by used clothes that I found at a thrift store and listed on Poshmark.
So when you decided, how long now? We're talking probably 2 years. Have you been with Poshmark doing this?
No, I've only been with Poshmark for 10 months.
Oh, 10 months. Okay.
Sold 1,900 listings.
Wow.
In 10 months.
That's awesome.
Crazy.
So it blows me away that you were able to listen to God and follow what He's telling you.
Obedience.
Clearly. It was like you just
and it's not really
did
that
it.
easy to be obedient with God.
No.
Absolutely not.
I want to do things my way, and I always joke around because I'm like, me and God have a funny relationship. He'll tell me to do something. I'm like, God, you are tripping right now, like thinking I'm going to do something like that. And then I end up doing it anyways.
Right.
But He just blesses me more, like, and I've just been doing this crazy faith thing, like, over the past 10 months, and, like, it's just been insane. There's no other words for it.
How is this girl so incredible?
You get to where you're supposed to be, but you might take a detour on the way.
Yeah, I always feel this. I always feel that God has a plan for you. I know that 100%. And He's telling you to take this path of least resistance, and you're going to get there.
Well, actually, I think it's more resistance,
right,
because you always have that pull.
I normally do the resistance part sometimes.
Right.
Like about 50-50.
Right.
Sometimes I go the right way, and then sometimes I'm like, nope, not doing that. And then I end up going in circles until I'm like, okay, let's do this.
Right.
Yeah, one of my problems that I have is that when I'm trying to stay in faith and I give it to God, I give my problems to God and, give everything. And then I'm like, okay, a few days later, give that back to me, God.
Give me that
You're not
one.
moving fast enough. I need it to go this way and this way and this way. And you're not listening. And I hear your story and I'm like, how can you be so quiet and listening and actually hearing what He's saying to you? And that comes from obedience.
Well, like I told my husband, our house got hit by a tornado like a few months ago. It wasn't that bad, but like during this time, I found this woman who was selling her boutique inventory online. And I tell my husband, I'm like,